Okay, so I just sent you a bit of a flurry of messages, and I just wanted to go through them one by one. Um,
Hmm.
I have changed how the development pipeline goes, and so what I'll try and do is I froze back chat. I did some fixes and sort of tidied it up a bit and made it uh, I'd say usable,
Hmm.
but I'll leave that as is, and I've moved on to the long thread URL that I sent you,
Yep.
and then you and I can poke around at that, and then once that stabilizes a bit, we'll make that more permanent and move on to the next um, changing thing. So hopefully that's okay. I've just basically left a whole lot of these deployments, like Hal, the original Hal 3, Backchat, uh,
Yeah,
and now
just
this
leave
one.
those because
And
get
that
around
I'll
it.
just let them sort of sit around until the traffic all dies off, and then just repoint them, I guess.
Yeah, and we probably need to. Well, this is my problem. What I'm finding is if you want a quick answer, you go to how to. If you want a good answer, you go to how three. Um, so
Yeah. So we
it
really
lets you
need to.
suggest something coherent, which you shouldn't have to go to two bots to do it. You know.
No, no, but you kind of want to. So we need to just incorporate those in the. We need to incorporate those into the agent switching, the switchboard.
Yeah, or even a bit of prompting on how, a bit more sensible prompting on how would allow them to answer quick questions easily, and
Right.
then more complex. So there's
Right.
yeah, there's a couple of ways of doing it. I'm not entirely sure it needs an agent switch until it's a specialized skill.
Okay.
Whereas How 3 is a generalized, you know, what you're thinking about skill.
Right. Okay. And now what I had um what I've been planning to do is I'm gonna do set up the long threading component now,
Mm-hmm.
but I was a little bit torn because I spotted another few sort of features I could deliver for you. Writing files to the parent branch, so they effectively save this to the to your home directory, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
is one feature. Execute any isolate function is another feature that I could do, and also answer questions about any isolate function. So basically, browse
The
the
validation
isolate
kind of thing.
functions that are at your disposal,
Mm-hmm.
which would enable you to write agent files that have any isolate available, and then save them would go up to the parent branch.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, cool. So, I mean, how do you want to do it, Scott? Thoughts on each of those?
yeah, well, the reason I'm sort of thinking that setting up long threading first is the best move is because implementing any one of those other features, whilst I'm pretty sure won't interfere or alter with how long threading works, I just am
Mm-hmm.
pretty eager to get long threading going because, we thought backchat was the be all and end all, and then we made it and used it, and we're like, oh shit, this is wrong. It was
Mm-hmm.
slightly wrong, like long threading versus backchat isn't they're conceptually very similar, but I'm just, we still don't have that final model nailed down, like, are we going to run with long threading or not? Does it serve our purposes? We sort of need to know that very early. These other things are not really, I guess they help
Well,
your speed of research, but they
I think
don't.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess we're not going to know until we actually use the thing. Um, Feels right. Backchat is not deprecated at all because it really makes sense.
Yeah, but
Logic
backchat's
is there
just an
right now.
agent now, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
And it
they're all
just,
just
what?
effectively agents, aren't they?
It's a what?
Because they need some intelligence in there. Yeah.
Hang on. So we got switchboard. Switchboard is the one that picks the agent to use.
Yep.
Backchat becomes just another agent that can be switched in. Backchat has tools that enable it to switch you to a whole new thread or answer questions about other long threads that have been running.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is Backchat's not deprecated. It sounded like it was like, oh, we've gone wrong with Backchat. I don't think we have.
Well, moving to long threading is a pretty big deal. Like it's an API change for OpenAI. Like I don't think we can give long threading a decent go without moving to the Assistance API. We used to use the Assistance API, and then I threw it out because it missed some functions. But then it got better again, and now it turns out long threading is just our copy of their Assistance API. So we might as well use their API directly, based on the hunch that I have that they will be treating those calls slightly differently because pollution of the thread is a problem. And
yes, and there's already a few models that use sub-experts, which is essentially, where I think they're going with this.
I think everyone's going this way, and that's why I'm like, we kind of need to make that move there now. Now that we came a long way around and realized that actually that is the fucking way to go. So sue us, whatever. At least we understand why fully, because we looked at that at first and we're like,
Fundamentally, yeah.
yeah, like we're like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, so that's why I think it's about another day or two. I've only spent about 2 hours on the actual implementation of long threading, because Monday I spent getting ready to do a demo to the trucking guys, because they've been a long time waiting, and I'd promised them one when Backchat was up.
Patient guys, yeah.
And I wanted to fill you in on how that went. But then today I spent time cleaning up the code base, getting ready to do long threading, and fixing the deployment pipeline so I can move quicker when you're like, oh, give me a new version, so I can do that without fluffing around. Like, it's super easy now. And I also fixed a bunch of mermaid chart issues, because I realized that if during my demo, 4O Mini spat out a miniature mermaid diagram that was faulty, and the mermaid renderer just throws up this thing that looks like a Danger Mouse bomb and just goes error, and I'm like, that's
That's
right.
not a good look.
There's no right. So I put in first of all, I made turns out every single diagram was being rendered by the same rendering engine, and so an error in one could overflow into the other. So I isolated them all, and then secondly, if there's a rendering error in Mermaid, what'll happen is it'll just show the raw text. So you'll get the diagram if it works, or you get the raw text that the model put out if it didn't work. Rather than a thing that looks like a bomb.
The raw text, you probably get something from it, but what you want is something exact when you're talking about something as fundamental as your ERD. So, yeah. When I was doing that, the original test on the ERD, every now and again the zero prompt would throw up an error, and you just put it back in.
Yeah, so the long term fix is that I will server side, if what comes back contains a mermaid diagram, I will attempt to render it on the server side, and I'll return any errors back to the model to correct. So as the user,
second shot, it always got it. Never had to go.
Yeah. So as the user, you'll just see the text, and then you'll see this error, and then you'll see it sort of go back on itself and sort of roll up one, and then do it again.
Do it properly.
Yeah.
It seems to be pretty good at it, but occasionally it misses some syntax. I think it's syntax only.
It's pretty minor, and I think it gets confused between versions as well. Like, if the version of the syntax has changed, and then it's like sometimes puts out one version on another. I don't know, but either way, that's what I spent my time on, and I just now moved on to long threading. And I just wanted to check with you what I was doing, I guess, because I'm like, fuck, am I doing the right
Okay.
thing? It
All right.
feels like it.
Shall we go through it then?
It was really just the reason why I keep having to reset the database is because I haven't yet got a way to update or pull HAL down from the Git repo without restarting the system, because HAL gets deployed as part of the initial setup. And so that's why I was like, maybe it would be better if I just, like, how these tools in this shortlist, how much of a benefit will they be to you if I do them before I do long threading?
Okay, so you're looking for a stack rank.
Yeah, this is my one. I want long threading right now, and I think I need another day and a half to get it up. And then I can go on to these things. But if you tell me that, look, these other things are actually really annoying, like being able to update HAL, being able to change something in the HAL repo and then say a prompt inside of Backchat and it would update from the repo, maybe that's more important to you.
On the write files to the parent branch, are those files available between different sessions, or what's
At the moment, they're not. There's no real. The navigation between threads is clunky.
Right. So it's like passing back messages by effectively writing a file. So,
Well, it's more like saying that if you want to write an agent file, for example, you're doing so in the thread branch. If you want it to be available to all new threads in the future, you need to save it back up to the parent branch, which is your home directory or your home branch.
So just to do a pairwise compare, long threading against update how using instruction, definitely the long threading.
Okay.
Update versus write, I'd switch those two. The update how use is a bit of an arse, but hey, we're still in like dev mode, so it's not a major issue for
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Update how using instruction versus execute any isolate function. I've not used any isolate functions yet.
Well, no, because
It's coming.
I came up with a way to make a agent that you can use to say, show me all the isolates, and then it will list them. Then you're like, show me, what does that function do? And it tells you. And then you're like, load up this function, this function, this function. And then it will then be in that agent. And then you're like, execute this function in that branch now. And so basically you can do any operation you want.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's is that below update? The update how is actually not major.
Oh, okay, no, you're not even concerned about that. Okay, but I'm concerned about that because that's why I keep having to delete the database.
Right.
So
it's a bit of a minor arse.
So you're telling me it's actually not that big a deal to you that I delete the database on
no,
periodically?
Because we don't give any guarantees, and everyone's saying, use HAL and see what you think. Oh, by the way, it could be wiped at any moment, so cut and paste it into a text file.
Yeah.
If it's useful, everyone's kind of cool with that because
Okay, cool.
they're using it for free and they're getting some results.
All right, cool.
They know what the deal is.
I also gave you a small bonus, and while I was cleaning up the deployment pipeline, I found a little experiment that I started on, which was to read the captions from any YouTube video. So what I'll do.
Where was this from?
It was just in a test thing that I had going up on Deno Deploy. Oh, sorry. Did I just punch a? What the fuck? Sorry. Okay. I don't know if is it just me thinking this is fun, or is it like I
No, I'm
mean, if it's
curious.
something.
I'm curious.
Okay. All right. All right.
So basically, scrape some meta from my YouTube video. Is that right?
The full subs.
Okay.
So here, there you go. That's all the subs. So that isolate means you can pull it in. You get the title and the description
Oh, I see. And you've got the.
and the subs,
Uh,
and so you can
that's kind of saves a couple steps. That's nice.
yeah, and then so you can you know make an agent that has access to that isolate, and then it can just pull those things in. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that.
It's not unique. There's quite a few out there doing that sort of thing because quite a lot of the
Yeah.
um, uh, like AutoGen and so on really seems to be pointing towards helping YouTubers
Oh right.
make
Funny.
a YouTube video. In fact, there was one that's getting sued because they've set up a company to pull YouTube videos and then create new YouTube videos automatically. And it's like, well, there goes YouTube.
Funny. There goes a lot of things, eh?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so basically do long threading and then do this other stuff and whatever else. Right.
Yeah, I would swap update how with execute isolate,
Okay, cool. There you go.
and then I think that'll be my stack rank.
Cool. Okay. I made the CRM bot into an actual bot, and I improved the searchability of things. Start hammer. I made that be quicker too, so it like switches cleaner without that sort of lag behind. I redid this prompt. I redid this.
Is that the one sent over? Was it, or is this something from scratch?
This is. Started from the one you sent over in WhatsApp, and then I took out the logging, and I added the foreign key, primary key information in there. I had to give it 4 lines to correct the syntax because it kept spitting out this colon character in when it was trying, like it kept doing the bottom line instead of doing the first line. That colon breaks mermaid. I had to tell it in using Mini. Mini kept trying to talk only in mermaid diagrams. Like everything it did, it would only send me back a mermaid diagram, which was interesting, but it felt like talking to.
Yeah.
It was rude. So I told it I had to try to prompt it to speak in natural language.
Description of your thinking. Yeah.
And I did
right.
that right. And I told it to ask clarifying questions because it was sort of just guessing stuff. And I added this part in to make it generate the IDs for the primary keys because it wasn't doing that.
Okay. Yep. We got that.
That was original. I just took out logging.
These are reasons.
This is all the same.
Here's that cardinality piece. when I put that in, that tightened it up a lot just
Oh,
from
that made a
earlier.
big difference, huh?
Yeah,
This bit, the cardinality.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then I said, oh, and I added this line. You know about public holidays? Because otherwise, when I started
Uh-huh.
asking about when public holidays were for this collection, it refused to answer and said, sorry, I don't know about holidays. And then I added an actual description of all the holidays in the prompt. But then I realized all I needed to say was this line saying that it knows about public holidays.
Oh, that's interesting. But public holidays, I assume, is different in different countries. Well, they are different
Yeah,
in
but
different
that's
countries.
because there's a country flag on the company. It knows what public
Right. So
holidays,
it would look for it.
right?
That's
And
nice. That's really
and
nice.
so it
Yeah.
took down like an extra page of public holidays versus just saying this one little statement, and then the model's own intelligence
Well,
works
you
for
could
us.
extend that actually. You could also, I don't know where you are, but in the UK, you know about the Public Working Time Directive, which is you can only work so many hours if you're a
Mm.
driver. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's
or if you're a
this
pilot, you
whole
can only
like
have
very
whatever it is.
complex subjects that most humans only lightly grasp, that the
Yeah,
model deeply grasps, and you can actually bring it to the surface by just
yeah.
prompting it in there, which is a
Oh,
remarkable thing,
interesting.
really.
That's a good find. That's a good find.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's like
So
make sure you know about employment law. You know about law for drivers, law for pilots, whatever it is.
mm,
You know about these things.
mm. So
Nice.
then I
That's nice.
went add a company named Redlit, and so we start a company. Um,
Was that an info leak? Is that right to do?
yeah, it's fine.
Everything.
And then now this was funny. This was funny. So comes in. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm Dave,
Yeah.
18. No, 14. Watch this. This cracker.
Yeah.
No
Boarding.
address.
Like skateboarding.
Oh, during the demo, it said,
Mm-hmm.
"Sorry, you don't meet the minimum requirements for being a customer agent, and you're too. You need to
Aha.
be over 18,"
So it's constraints. Right.
which is pretty
This
funny.
is quite useful. So you could add a constraint that the company works in, operates in a country and needs to obey all the laws for employment,
Yeah,
and that'd probably be enough actually.
yeah. So it's like
And
it's
then,
if you prompt cleverly, you can draw on a huge amount of information.
oh yeah, absolutely,
It's crazy.
absolutely,
Okay,
because
so
it's all baked in. So so
yeah.
much better than, for example, dumping in
Oh
employment
god,
law.
it's
Right?
so better, so much better. It's like here you have to take things away instead of add things in. So then I went through and just added your prompts into the system, um, and this was my demo basically. But
Yeah.
see, I added in the PKFK
Mm-hmm.
constraints there, and then like I won't sort of bore you terribly with it, but
No, I'm fascinated with this. This is good stuff.
okay, I'll just run to the end of the demo then. Which this was
Yeah.
what I did for the demo. I literally just copied in all your things. With one major difference, which was when I hit the holidays thing, because holidays has been a long-standing issue for them. Like that's been a
Mm-hmm.
complicated thing. So I really want to show you that.
Uh-huh.
It's
Okay,
not
so
following the permissions, which is odd, but yeah. Adding today's date, I will start
you haven't
adding that.
stated who you are. I don't remember you saying at any
Yeah,
time
but
you're a
the
customer agent.
permissions aren't being honored. Like it's not holding off. It let me do everything.
Yeah, but it doesn't know who you are, so at the moment you're admin.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
Well,
it
I
just
did
thinks you're
tell
the
it to
active
set me
agent.
up as a customer agent.
Well, that's different from saying I am a customer agent.
How? Set me up as a customer agent.
All right.
Yeah.
Try try this. Put in
Let me.
I am a customer agent. All right. Okay.
I don't.
Keep
I
on with it.
actually don't
Yeah.
care about the permissions so
Yeah.
much.
That's why. And there's some prompting to do around.
Yeah. The next
But it's
pickup for
working.
both customers is scheduled now. I was like, uh, when is the next public holiday that is? When is the next public?
Hmm.
Because on public holidays they have to reschedule everything, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a real pain. And that, like, that one line is like to first of all, you gotta like enter all the public holidays for New Zealand.
Oh,
Um,
where did you tell it that you're working in real time, as in today's date is?
up here. Okay, so today's date is
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because I remember
but
this was my like third, fourth run, and it was getting confused because I didn't know where it was
what
in
today
time.
was. Yeah, so
Yeah.
when I do long threading, the assistance API allows for first of all you have your sys prompt, but then there's some additional instructions that I can add in on a per run basis. And what
Mm-hmm.
I'll do there is I'll add in like today's date is blah, or the time is blah, and whatever other sort of context aware snippets of information that we think are
So
worthwhile.
where would that go? Because previously I was going to put that under constraints. It's like use today's date
Yeah, but it
for
doesn't know what
threadings.
today's date is unless you tell it, and that's what I will add for you.
Well,
So
it does, but you, like you're aware of public holidays. It's like you're aware of today's date.
it doesn't know that.
I did when I was doing it. Yeah. Don't know where it's getting it from, but let's try it.
Yeah.
Because I put in that prompt,
So I'll just say what's today's date.
it won't know because you haven't said it.
Yeah,
But
that's what
put
no,
in,
that's what I mean. It should know
yeah,
that, right? And
I,
and that's what I'm getting at. I will add that in for you so that it knows that every time.
all right,
Like
okay, yeah. So
in
no, so you don't need to have that in the prompt. Yeah,
no,
gotcha.
because what happens is when I create a run for an agent, see this parameter, additional instructions? Like instructions is I can override what the agent instructions are, but additional instructions just get appended. And so I can
Mm-hmm.
just simply add in today's date is every run, and so the model always knows what the current time is when it's running.
Yeah, or maybe more specifically, n- the time now is
Now,
or
yeah.
reference a time server for now because
Well, I'll just give
um,
it. I'll put it in I'll put it in there when I make the API call. I'll be like now equals, and then I'll give it the Unix timestamp,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
it should
yeah,
be good to go
cool.
from there, right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
What
All right.
else can you think of that might need to be added in each run?
Um,
I could send it like the user IP address or user geolocation approximately.
hmm um, be handy.
So like user
Only
time, I'll
in
be
the
like timestamp, user time zone, user geolocation, something like that, right?
yeah, and well, it's identifying who's doing it and when they're doing it and where they're doing it. That's got to be useful, right?
Yeah, it's really just to make the bots
Yeah,
have a bit of the basic stuff that we just expect but don't really think about, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So, what was the next part of the demo
Next
like?
part of the demo. So yeah, that was remarkable.
Okay, cool. Now that we're getting to the real juicy bit.
Wow,
But if
that's
you
a
want to go
winning
through
fucking.
the demo more, but I would say at this point, can you suggest what I need to do to uh, change the pickups so they don't fall on Labor Day?
They don't fall on Labor Day. Look at what it said. Labor Day's a Monday,
Monday may affect your Tuesday pickups. Oh,
which
yeah,
is
that's that.
deep, man. Like that's deep
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah. May need to be rescheduled. Oh, that's brilliant.
Like it's
So I
saying,
didn't read
like,
that fully there. I just skimmed
yeah,
it.
right. That's
Yeah.
fucking intelligent.
Okay, forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I did there was I went, yeah, I just, and then I was like, show me, show me John, right? And this is where the guys I was showing it to were like, they were like, oh, we can't read that. Like, we need something
Oh, I see.
else.
No, we can reformat that. I see.
Right, and I was like, okay, well, how do you want it? And they were like, well, I should see like, the customer name, the blah blah blah, and then I was like,
There you go.
and
And what
then
do you
it's
think of that?
well, I mean, the one I showed them was a lot more populated, like it had the address and all that in it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they were like, they liked it. They saw the point that it could be changed very quickly. Um,
Yeah. Or write me a haiku based on that
Based
customer
on
name.
that customer, yeah. Um, Sorry, just making a note of a job I gotta do. It's just been a lot of like little fiddly bits here and there. Um, but this was the demo. I thought it went well. They were sort of a bit stunned because they were like, sorry, what? How does this all work again? But um, they were sort of expecting a traditional app. But then when we start talking about, well, now give me some example emails, and now we can generate responses to the emails
Mm-hmm.
and also interpret what the email said, and make changes
Oh,
to the system. And then I think we're in that uncanny valley part where they're like, we sort of expected a user interface, not a chat. So I have to work with them and understand what it is they feel they're missing. I hope all they're missing
that's
is the state
interesting.
board.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So their uncanny valley is a good way of putting it. It's like because if you make the conceptual leap, this is evidently and obviously far superior.
Yeah, I know.
But they're still wanting boxes and things to
Buttons to
render, and
click and like lists to scroll on and all
even
that,
even though the buttons are like predefined by someone else who doesn't really know your business.
I know, right? But that's what they live and breathe, right? So they're sort of hungry for it. Um,
That's really
But
interesting.
I thought that the demo went really really well because of the fact that we could demonstrate this prompt was literally all there was to it, to their entire app basically,
Yeah.
and that I think is phenomenal.
And
So
did they get the idea that from that prompt we can generate unit tests and then they can add in
no,
stuff?
not
No.
really. I think it's like they understand that in order for something to be changed quickly, it needs to be built quickly. So they get that. But yeah, I think it's really just people that make apps that understand the power of, that being all the code there is for the app is
Right, because they don't care whether it's like 10,000 lines
they have no
or,
concept of code
yeah,
difficulty or complexity.
yeah, or the dangers of having complex
No,
code
but
and
but
costs.
but they do
Yeah,
know that these systems cost a lot to change and take a long time, possibly never. And so
yeah,
but it's hard for people to put those two together. It's like, yeah, those are related problems. They're related to code complexity. Um,
yeah. Ah, that's really interesting.
yeah, so I'm
Because
not.
this is why outreach and talking to guys who don't really
Yeah, it's
know
crucial,
is
right?
so
It's crucial,
important.
but it's like we don't we don't necessarily we can't really change the course we're on too much, and we know that we can serve customers better this way because if we stick to the chat-based interface, what it means is that as the admin, I could ring up on the phone from a distance and converse with our system in
Yeah,
just voice, make changes and hear status, and that's it. Like all I've done is I just called up and was like, hey, what's going on with blah blah blah.
I know.
Um, and then customers can do the same. Customers can email, and then people aren't really needed for that emailing part. It's going to be a really interesting journey because a lot of the people are going to be like, I don't sort of get it. But I tell you what, everyone did love. They loved the fact that they didn't have to type.
Of all the things.
Of all the things, yeah, of all the things, eh? Um,
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so look, that they're a really really supportive group of people. They're genuine, real world users. They have very little grasp of computer technologies under the hood, which
Yep,
I guess we should remind ourselves is kind of most people.
yeah,
But they saw this thing work and they were like, "Oh, that's." They kind of apologized later for their silence. They were like, "We're just like don't really know." Like it's like that's AI, like that's
it
intelligent,
is. It's a
and
big
it's
leap, isn't it?
it's pretty weird.
Um, but
Yeah,
that's down to us to communicate or
yeah. So basically, I'm like we gotta be super super careful to talk to these guys and understand what they're feeling nervous about or weird, and so we need to hear them out and make sure that we can give them answers. We may need to make some changes ourselves, whatever, but making sure that
yeah.
they understand the system, I think, is.
I'm getting and I've got something later on today talking to people who are not in AI, who are really AI curious, I guess you could call it. And
Mm,
I'm getting much more talking to guys like that than I'm to guys who think that they're AI experts. So I did a troll of AI companies saying, "What are you doing?" And it's like they're
mm.
all bollocks. Um, well, not all bollocks, but maybe 98% of them are. But talking to people who don't know about AI is really fruitful.
Yeah, it really is, and those are the people that matter.
Yeah. Can I get access? Can I fork that bot that you got and play with it? Because well,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
intrigued to hear stuff.
that's just in the HAL directory.
Okay, I'll have a
So
look at that then.
that's just I should probably put a link to it in the sysprompt. That's just agents hammer.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna have a look at that.
Yeah.
No,
Now I
I'm
also had to
getting on.
rename HAL 2 and HAL 3 because I started in preparation for long threading giving the agents names, and when I give it a name that has a period in it, OpenAI rejects it, so it needs to be. You can't have periods in your agent names anymore, buddy.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because OpenAI said so. You want to take it up with them? I mean,
Well, I'll phone them up later on. Get them
yeah,
to stop that.
yeah. Um. Okay, so that's your new URL.
Yeah.
I fixed this loop that you found,
Ah, yeah. Yep.
which is a great find. Like, give me more of these types of things, right? Because it's this is how I turned it into a test. First of all, I just go, I just start a files chat, so I'll start that up.
Yep.
One day. And now I see why you need the titles.
Yeah. It gets for non-trivial, actual work. Just finding what you're doing this morning even can get a bit of an arse.
Mm. And then, so like I took that prompt that you gave me, this prompt, and so I included that in a test that gets run every commit. And so that's why I like these kinds of tests, because I can put them in there and make sure they hold fast no matter what I do.
Good. Okay.
And so this is it. This is what you wanted being done. To fix it, I had to add the move command and the delete command. But it does pretty well. It slams it all out in one shot.
Well, there you go.
Like it's
That's
files write,
exactly what it's
files
meant
update,
to do.
files
Brilliant.
move, right? And then when
Yeah.
I go ls, you'll see that it has only got the Edinburgh
Yep.
.txt file.
And then it quite rightfully puts Edinburgh back up above Paris. Not that I have anything against the French at all.
Yes.
I love it the way that my typing has gone downhill because it just
Because you don't care, eh?
roughly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And that's the contents,
Brilliant.
which was
That's
part of the
perfect.
test. So
That is.
thank you for those kinds of faults. Like those are the kinds of faults I need, because I can test them and be like, oh, that's weird, and then figure out why, and then make sure they're put in a permanent test, so that they keep on being run.
Well, I'll give another trying to break it session.
Um,
See what we can do.
You had an error. You hadn't given customer agents the permission to create customers, and so it was denying me the ability to create a customer.
Ah, okay. That's interesting.
Mm.
Because sometimes you get unexpected behavior, not because of anything to do with the prompt. It's because you've asked the wrong thing. Now, we shouldn't insist that the human bends to the AI. The AI should bend to the human.
Yeah,
but
then it falls on us.
At that point, saying I can't do this because give a reason. It's like, as opposed to an error. At that point, it's like you haven't said what the permission was for this, so I can't do it.
Mm.
It's a bit like having a really obstreperous receptionist saying computer says no. It's
Computer
like,
says no.
No, what do you mean computer says no?
What do you mean?
Why? So think about that one, but that seems to be like a universal rule, isn't it? If you come up with an error, explain your error about what you can't do.
Yeah. Okay, so I also figured out that I can do custom subdomains very easily, and so
you mentioned that.
Yes, so what I might do is make it so that each actor is actually a subdomain. So you could be like, you could be like smacks.dreamcatcher.ai, and that's your
Yeah.
full URL, and it means that when you share things, I only need to put the thread ID in the parameters, in the search
Yeah.
parameters, because the act is given.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. That might be, if you think,
That's cool. That
yeah.
is cool.
And if you think of some other use case for the custom subdomains, then let me know as well. But that's currently where my head's at. Custom subdomains where it's one per actor or one per independent repo. Like if I make the CRM be its own repo, then I would give it a custom subdomain so that that's how people log into it and that's how they
Yeah.
find it.
So how easy is that though? Because subdomains, DNS,
It's
packaging tags, all that kind of stuff.
funnily enough, it turns out it's trivial because of Deno Deploy,
Huh.
because
Right.
they allow me to attach wildcard domains to the deployment. And so at that point, all I do is put logic in to read what domain this request came in from.
Right. Okay. So there's no DNS
No.
worry.
And it's a wildcard
Right.
HTTPS
That's
as well.
fascinating.
Like it's a wildcard SSL cert, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're good guys. They gave us good features for
That
not
is
a lot of
nice.
money.
Okay.
So I think it's actor/project name, but have a think about it. See what you think.
Yeah.
It's at our
Yeah.
disposal. Um,
Have you made any progress on what we're talking about, moving the permissions to the file level?
yeah, I really do think that permissions. So there's a new kind of permissions that need to be considered in long threading, which is a restriction on the agents that are allowed to participate in that thread. So it's not just files anymore. It's we need to also lock down what agents are there.
That should be easy enough because agents before they're instantiated are effectively files anyway.
That's a very good
I
point.
guess you're adding context. It's like
Right, like you might be able to read the file, but you can't execute the file. So agent is like the execute bit on the file. I'm convinced that all permissioning can be managed as file system level permissions. They don't. It's a dangerous game to try and make them part of the business logic because
well, it's just stupid because it's already been done. It's a solved problem.
it is, and it adds first of all, it makes the prompts more complex, but the prompts have a chance of being wrong, and you shouldn't really be wrong about permissions. But you could be wrong about other things and get away with it, but you should not be wrong about permissions. Plus, they're all, permissions are already built into the file system, so
why reinvent it?
Yeah, might as well use it, right? And then you're sort of opening the door to everyone to come up with their own custom permissioning scheme. Whereas if we force them to use a certain way, it's like, look, permissions are a bit of a stupid thing anyway. Just
but you also look at the hack prompt, the prompt hacking stuff I was doing last night.
Right? Yeah. You don't want to be prompt hacked and lose your permissions.
Yeah, you got a bad leaver from a company who happens to have quite a high permission level anyway.
Yeah,
that allows them to rewrite the permission of the duty manager, for example. And then he goes, just delete everything.
Right. Okay, and then another thing I thought up that should help us is being able to run a thread from another thread. So when you're in one thread, you can call up the agent that is like the remote control agent, and it will start another thread that doesn't switch your UI focus, but it starts driving that thread. And so what you'll be able to do then is make a modification to the sys prompt on one of the agents that is running on that thread, and then ask your remote control agent to do that all again, where they start a new thread and then run the drive the prompts for you, because then I was just in the meeting feeling stupid that I had to copy paste, copy paste, copy
Mm-hmm.
paste. I should have a bot that has these canned responses in there, and I can sort of call them up. Like I'm like, show me the scenario of adding a customer, and then it pulls up a series of prompts that exercises that area.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
You know,
That would be
and
cool,
so you
actually.
can refer to
Yeah.
these groups of prompts as a single action, and presumably the intelligence of the bot would allow it to formulate its own derivations where you're like, combine adding a route and I want to add 5 customers, and it should be able to drive the prompt like that for you, almost like that synthetic testing, but a bit more single use
I
focused.
touched on this a few weeks ago, where I was working on putting a process into a prompt.
Right.
So do this, it's like add a guy called Bob as a driver. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And what that allowed it to do was, when I just run that process, the response back, if the response wasn't quite right, because it's never the same identically each time, it would be able to infer what the next thing you're trying to do should be given on the previous one. And it was doing some quite interesting things, including saying, no, that's not right.
Right.
Try again.
Right.
So I think I've got that in the I have got that in the I think it's trigger bullet or tracer bullet 14, I think it is. But putting processes in is essentially what you're saying, but what you're not doing is just putting in say this, say that, say that. You're saying I want do this, do this, do this, and it auto corrects based on what its current
Wait,
context is.
it generates based on
Right.
the
Yeah.
nuance that you want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, okay, buddy. I think that's all I had to share there. But
Yeah, cool. And I'm at my hour now.
okay, cool.
I've got 5 minutes or so if you want. There's any wind up stuff, but yeah, cool. So I'm gonna have a look at the that CRM bot hammer. Um, I'm still working on the generation of an arbitrary thing like hammer based on anything that has a process.
Right.
But what we'll do is add in the public key stuff. What did you do for the public key stuff, just quickly?
What public key
What
stuff?
did you prompt it to do?
Ah, the primary key.
Sorry, primary key.
Primary key was oh fuck me! I promise you, I will get you this names in the tabs. If there's this, but that took a couple of goes to get that prompt right. Like that seems to be how prompting goes. You're like, you got an idea, and then you got to twiddle with it a bit.
Yeah.
But it'd be
Well, that's the whole
easier.
point of Hammer 3, because...
Yeah,
sorry, Hammer 3?
but
Hammer 3.
it'd be Hammer 3. It'd be easier if I could state what I wanted to happen and then work backwards, so that that test was rerun, even though you or me or someone else can jiggle this prompt around. Like you can't. It's hard for you to tell what struggle I went through to realize I needed this line. But if my tests were there, they state what my rules are or my goals of the prompt are, and it shows how I exercise them. And so whenever you modify the prompt, it makes it hard for you to fuck up what I did, because my test will fail. And so you have to think about, is that still what we want?
That sounds doable.
It's really just
Yeah.
unit testing for prompts, because there's a specific unit of functionality that I want to get out of this prompt. I should state what that unit of functionality is. I should make some tests and examples of what it is, and I should be able to show you the versions or iterations I went through to get to the working one. And preferably a bot would be able to incorporate all those requirements into the better prompt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see how to do that. I'll give that a go. That's actually quite a good one. I like the idea of unit testing for prompt nuggets.
Yeah,
Because we've got unit testing for the final thing, but I've not done anything about unit testing for the prompt itself.
yeah, but that's really what we want. Okay, well, hell, I guess I'll just get on with that long threading part.
That's actually a really good idea. So if I were to go in and edit this and say, you will not adhere to the rules just because it auto-completed or something,
Yeah,
or had a brain fart.
yeah, that should break
If you
my
come back and
tests.
saying, you realize what you just said.
Yeah, that should break my tests. And when like the trucking guys ask us to change the prompt a bit, we should be able to we should be able to set up these unit tests to make sure that like they say what they want and we help them get it, but then we come in and do things like lay out unit tests to make sure that the intent is going right.
Yeah.
So every time we fix something or tweak something, we add in a unit test so that it stays done. And that's
Yeah.
really the skill, I think, because we'll give them all the tools that we have, but they'll still need our help from time to time to come in and tweak the system.
Yeah.
And those unit tests are a way to ensure quality. And I think that's a very saleable service to offer people in general, is like, we'll come in and improve your prompting because we've, had to do it a lot. And here's part of how we do it is these
But
these
also, if someone
tests.
wants to add in nuances, don't break anything else,
Yeah.
then you should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes the
It's
system
your
more
bot. If you
stable.
want to say you're a CRM bot and you talk like a Liverpudlian, it's not going to change any of the logic.
Yeah, right.
It'll just be funny.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's a nice one. I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I better get going.
All right, buddy. I'll leave you to it then.
So, yeah, see you in 24 hours-ish.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. See you, man.
See you.
See you.